I live in a quiet neighborhood, and one night my parents went out for a dinner date, leaving me home alone. I had done this before and felt safe in our cozy house. Little did I know that this particular night would be different. As the evening wore on, I settled into my routine of watching TV and snacking on popcorn. It was around 9 o'clock when I heard a strange noise coming from the backyard. I muted the TV and strained my ears to listen. It sounded like footsteps, slow and deliberate. Fear crept up on me, and I realized I was all alone in the house. I decided to investigate, hoping it was just an animal or a figment of my imagination. I grabbed the flashlight and headed towards the back door. I peered outside, but it was too dark to see anything clearly. Heart pounding, I stepped out cautiously, shining the flashlight around the yard. That's when I saw it. A shadowy figure lurking near the fence. My breath caught in my throat as I watched the figure move closer to the house. Panic set in, and I rushed back inside, locking the door behind me. My mind raced with thoughts of burglars and intruders. I called the police, tried my best to stay calm as I explained the situation. They assured me that they would send a patrol car right away. As I waited, the minutes felt like hours. Every creak and rustle in the house sent shivers down my spine. I felt like a mouse trapped in a cage. Suddenly the phone rang, startling me. I hesitated before answering, but curiosity got the better of me. It was a deep, menacing voice on the other end. The voice taunted me, whispering threats and making me question my safety. I slammed the phone down, my hands trembling. Fear overwhelmed me, and I realized I needed to find a hiding spot. I crept upstairs, trying to be as quiet as possible. The sound of my own breathing echoed in my ears. I locked myself in my parents' bedroom, hoping it would provide some sense of security. Time seemed to stand still as I sat on the bed, clutching my phone tightly. I debated whether I should call my parents, but the thought of worrying them and putting them in danger made me hesitate. Minutes turned into hours, and I strained my ears, listening for any sign of an intruder. The house felt like a prison, and my nerves were shot. Just as I was about to give in to the panic, I heard the sound of sirens outside. Relief flooded over me as I heard the police car pull up. Officers stormed in the house, searching every nook and cranny. They assured me that it was safe now, and they would do their best to find the person responsible. They even gave me a ride to my neighbor's house, where I would stay until my parents returned. The days that followed were filled with fear and anxiety. The police investigated, and no one was ever caught. I constantly looked over my shoulder, afraid that the intruder would return. It took time, but slowly I regained a sense of security. That night changed my perspective on home alone experiences. I realized the importance of being vigilant and taking precautions. Locking doors, having emergency contacts, and trusting your instincts became second nature to me. And although it was a terrifying ordeal, it taught me the value of safety and the strength I had within me to face my fears. To this day, I am cautious when I'm home alone in the house. I keep the lights on, check the locks multiple times, and always have. I remember that night vividly. Parents had gone out for a dinner party, leaving me home alone. I was 16 at the time, and thought of having the house to myself seemed exciting. Little did I know that it would turn into one of the scariest nights of my life. As the evening progressed, I started feeling a strange sense of unease. The house, unusually filled with warmth and comfort, now felt eerily quiet. I tried to shake off the feeling and distract myself by watching TV, but it didn't work. The uneasiness lingered. Around midnight, I decided to head to bed. I locked all doors and windows, making sure everything was secure. I crawled under the covers, hoping sleep would take away my unease. As I closed my eyes, I heard a noise. Soft footsteps coming from downstairs. My heart raced and I froze in bed, straining my ears to listen. The footsteps grew louder, as if someone was walking through the house. Fear gripped me, and I reached for my phone to call the police. But to my horror, I realized I left it downstairs. I had no choice but to gather my courage and investigate. Every creaking floorboard felt like a thunderclap as I descended the stairs, trying my best to be quiet. The darkness engulfed the house, broken only by dim glow of the streetlights outside. I entered the living room, and that's when I saw it, a shadowy figure standing by the window. My blood ran cold, and I stepped back, pressing myself against the wall. The figure seemed unaware of my presence, its attention focused outside. Terror gripped me as I tried to make sense of the situation. Who was this person, and what were they doing in my house? I knew I had to act fast, so I tiptoed towards the front door, praying it wouldn't creak. With trembling hands, I turned the lock and slipped out into the night. I sprinted to my neighbor's house, pounding on the door in desperation. Thankfully, they opened the door and welcomed me inside, sensing my fear. I explained the situation, and they immediately called the police. The police arrived swiftly, and we all went back to my house together. As we entered, the silence was shattered by the sound of shattered glass. A window had been broken. The intruder was gone, but the evidence of their presence remained. The police searched the house thoroughly, but found no sign of the intruder. They assured me that they would increase patrols in the area and advised me to be cautious. That night, I couldn't sleep a wink, constantly haunted by the thought that the intruder might return. In the following days, I took extra precautions to ensure my safety. I installed security cameras, reinforced the doors and windows, and always made sure to keep my phone close at hand. The feeling of security in my own home has been shattered, and it took a long time for me to feel at ease again. To this day, I still remember that terrifying night when I was home alone. It serves as a reminder that even in the safety of our own homes, we should never let our guard down. I learned the importance of being vigilant and taking necessary precautions to protect ourselves and our loved ones. I live in a small, cozy house on a quiet street. One night, my parents went out, leaving me home alone. It wasn't the first time, but this time felt different. I was excited to have the house to myself, but little did I know what was in store. As the evening went on, I started to feel a sense of unease. Every creak and groan of the house made my heart race. I tried to distract myself with a book, but I couldn't shake off the feeling that I was being watched. I decided to check all the doors and windows, making sure they were locked. As I went from room to room, I couldn't shake the feeling that someone was lurking in the shadows. The house felt colder, and the silence seemed unnerving. Just as I was about to head back to my room, I heard a noise coming from the basement. It was a soft, scraping sound, like something being dragged across the floor. My stomach churned with fear. I had no choice but to investigate. I cautiously made my way down the creaky stairs, the darkness enveloping me. The basement was dimly lit, but with only a small bulb casting eerie shadows. The scraping sound grew louder, echoing through the empty space. I followed the sound, my heart pounding in my chest, and there, in the corner, I saw it. A figure hunched over, its back facing me. Dread washed over me as I realized that there was someone else in the house. "Who's there?" I called out, my voice trembling. The figure didn't respond, but its movements became more frantic. It was as if it was searching for something, or someone. Panic consumed me, and I rushed back upstairs, locking the basement door behind me. I grabbed my phone and dialed the police, explaining the situation. They assured me that they would send someone over, but it would take some time. In the meantime, I barricaded myself in the room, hoping that whoever was in the house wouldn't find me. Minutes felt like hours as I sat there, listening intently for any sound. Suddenly, I heard footsteps on the stairs, slow and deliberate. My heart raced as the footsteps grew closer and closer. I held my breath, praying that the intruder wouldn't find me. The doorknob to my room slowly turned, and my heart skipped a beat. The door swung open, revealing a shadowy figure standing in the doorway. Fear gripped me, and I screamed as loud as I could, hoping to scare them away. But instead of fleeing, the intruder stepped forward, their face hidden in the darkness. My mind raced, thinking of ways to escape. I lunged for the window, desperate to get out, but the figure grabbed me, their grip tight and unforgiving. I struggled, kicking and screaming, fighting with every ounce of strength I had. Finally, I managed to break free, running as fast as I could towards the front door. I flung it open, gasping for breath as I stumbled outside. I ran to the neighbor's house, pounding on their door for help. They quickly let me in, calling the police once again. It felt like an eternity until they arrived, searching the house from top to bottom, but to my horror they found no sign of the intruder. To this day, I still don't know who was in my house that night, or what their intentions were. The experience left me shaken, and I no longer feel safe in my own home.